Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon and good morning, wherever you sit in the world right now. I would like to start off by welcoming everybody to today's Tech Talk, where we, in the context of the digital thread, where the whole manufacturing world seems to talk about, discuss the very interesting and thrilling question of establishing the unique digital configuration thread using Configuration Lifecycle Management. I am joined today by my colleague, Damantha Boteju. Damantha joined Configit in the beginning of 2023 as our Chief Product and Technology Officer. Damantha has a profound background and experience in management in software companies. For more than 25 years now, he's worked in different types of software companies, from AI-driven project management software to life and pension software, through to digital or data analytics software. In all these steps in his career, he has actually drove the company's success by leading product or technical teams as in CTO or CPO positions. From a scientific background, Damantha holds a degree in computer science from the McMaster University in Ontario in Canada. So our tech talk today should take about 30 minutes, and in the interest of time, I would like to ask all attendees, please ask your questions in the control panel on the right-hand side, where we'll collect them and address them in a short Q&A in the end of the session. But for now, please help me welcome Damantha. Over to you, Damantha.
Great, thank you, Jan. So the focus of today's session is to introduce the concept of the digital configuration thread. So this is something we're very excited about. We feel it's a valuable tool for anybody who wants to get a better understanding of how their products are doing. And in 2024, data is what separates the winners from the losers. So let's take a look. So to start off, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we see as the challenges being faced by manufacturers. And today, it's safe to say that there are definitely a lot of them. So for example, the digital passport. The digital passport is a digital record for products that the European Commission is planning to introduce. It will include details about where a product comes from, what it's made of, how it can be repaired, taken apart, and recycled. So the goal of this is to help make the economy more environmentally friendly by promoting recycling and informing people about sustainability about what they buy. And another topic is that customers are also seeing the advantages of leasing rather than owning products, such as products as a service, is increasingly becoming a business model. This obviously shifts the burden and the cost of servicing and maintaining products from customers to manufacturers. But it's not just a picture of demands, there are also a great number of opportunities. So new technologies are emerging to help manufacturers meet customer and regulatory demands, as well as provide new opportunities for productivity and new revenue streams. So for example, digital twins of processes enable real-time monitoring, analysis, and optimization. And this includes what-if testing and scenario generation. And of course, there's this whole raft of new opportunities that are being introduced by AI for manufacturing. But there's a couple of areas that I'd like to focus a little bit further on, and that's namely customization, sustainability, and omnichannel, and how the digital thread can help in many of these topics. So demands like customization, personalization, omnichannel sales, and products as a service require changes in how work is done. But it's also how we think about managing the end-to-end manufacturing process. So customization alone turns the traditional manufacturing process on its head. In the past, manufacturers would mass produce a single product, offering a limited number of choices to their customers. But this meant full control of how and when the products were designed and manufactured and sold, but there was very few artifacts used to manage these end-to-end processes. For example, there could be different BOMs from different departments and systems, but there would only be a handful per product, and that made that rather manageable. But once you allow customers to customize the products they buy, it's a whole new ballgame. You have to think about which technical options you need to provide, how these options can be combined into configurations, how and where these configurations are going to be manufactured, and which markets these configurations will be offered. And then when the customer configures and orders their products, they are now driving the process. So you need to ensure what they ordered is valid and that it can be manufactured and delivered. And after it's delivered, you need to manage the life cycle of specific product configurations. So many manufacturers are trying to do this by stitching together information from multiple BOMs in different formats based on different paradigms and different systems. So this is very difficult, which is why in many industries, they'd like to see a universal BOM or a synchronized BOM solution. However, with potentially billions of configurations and thousands of BOMs to manage, this actually ends up being a very daunting task. When it comes to sustainability, customers are also demanding more green options and insight into the environmental impact of products. So we can see that nearly 6 in 10 people are willing to change their shopping habits to reduce the environmental impact. This has led to increasing demands for disclosure in financial statements, as well as new regulations, such as the digital passport that I mentioned earlier. This means we need to include non-financial parameters such as CO2 footprints in choices. This adds a significant amount of complexity to both how we present these choices to users, as well as how we track those choices. I think that many people feel like they want to be making a difference, but it's also difficult as a consumer to understand the true consequence of these choices. So it's up to manufacturers to help guide their customers. Omnichannel refers to the way that the multiple ways in which products and services can be purchased and delivered to customers today. Many manufacturers would have used direct sales or partners, distributors, retailers to sell their products. But COVID-19 actually forced a lot of companies to revert to using online sales much more than they had before. And customers are also hooking onto this. They're increasingly purchasing through digital self-service portals, which is often where they begin the entire purchase process. And customers expect that the purchasing process actually starts very early on in one of these sales channels, and this includes the product configuration as well. And that needs to be seamlessly continued into the other sales channels using the same experience with the same options. And on top of that, I'd just like to share some of the challenges that we've heard from our own customers. Some of the things they've said include keeping rules and data in sync from all around the world has been very challenging with so many different systems. We've struggled to manage the complex and iterative process of finding the best possible solutions while adhering to multiple regulations and managing more than 1,000 million rules. It was difficult to achieve agreement within our organization on architecture and implementation because of these different priorities. So if I was to summarize some of these pain points, we can see that the world is getting more complex, and we need a way to model this complexity. We can also see that in large organizations, it's not easy to get things started. So there needs to be a way to reduce the barrier of entry. Ultimately, product managers and product leadership need actionable data that they can track over time. So this is where the concept of the digital thread can help. Gartner describes it as spanning all the different steps a manufacturer is responsible for and linking the evolution of product requirements through design, production, delivery, and service. Ultimately, they need to ensure that a compliant and quality product is delivered to their customer. However, this content can include things like BOMs, requirements, specifications, drawings, documents, CAD models, simulation models, audits, and certifications. And furthermore, you need to track when changes to the products were made, and then what was the reason for the switch, what was the nature of the change, who were the roles and the people involved. So there's a huge amount of data and information that needs to be captured if you want to implement a digital thread. And this is where we think the concept of the digital configuration thread could be a better starting point. the digital configuration thread really focuses in on the configuration aspects of the product lifecycle. We believe that you can derive up to 70% of the value of the digital thread simply by focusing on configuration information. And this is because configuration information allows you to derive the majority of the data points that you need to make good product decisions. And this approach also allows for a more lightweight process than huge integration projects. And one of the advantages of starting with configuration is that it allows you to start small and think big, and it significantly reduces the barrier of entry. And again, the reason for building a digital thread the reason that it's so difficult to build a digital thread for configurable products is because we need to select the specific EBOM, MBOM, and SBOM, and any other needed BOMs from thousands of BOMs that have been created. Then we need to combine this information to provide a full overview of the as designed, as ordered, and as built. So this is not a trivial task when you're dealing with a lot of different systems, different formats, and different paradigms. But we feel that all this information can be stored in the digital configuration thread using Configuration Lifecycle Management. All of the options chosen by the customer are captured in the digital configuration thread over the lifetime of that product's configuration. And this provides a fantastic starting point for building the digital thread as a whole. Furthermore, the digital configuration thread is based on the concept of taking a feature-driven approach to configuration management. So instead of tracking individual parts, a feature-driven approach tracks the outcome a customer wishes to achieve through their configuration. And this higher level of abstraction allows it to act as the DNA from which all other information can be derived, including EBOMs, MBOMs, and SBOMs. And we store this as a series of feature strings as a part of the digital configuration thread. So you can see an example of a feature string for an Audi A3 that used to belong to one of my colleagues. And with that feature string, you could derive almost everything you wanted to know about this car. So how does the digital configuration thread fit into the concept of Configuration Lifecycle Management as a service, CLM as a service? So it all starts with open APIs. Instead of relying on stitching together BOM information or establishing a single BOM to rule them all, Configuration Lifecycle Management uses a product model-based approach to establish a shared source of truth for all these configurations. With CLM product models, it's possible to extract all of this information from each system, allowing them to remain the masters of this data and create a common product model that captures the end-to-end configuration logic. Technical rules can be defined and managed by engineering. Manufacturing rules can be added by manufacturing departments, and sales rules can be added by marketing and sales. Also, open APIs ensure that we're able to communicate with a multitude of systems which are needed to make omnichannel orchestration a success. In order to model the complexity brought about by customization, personalization, and sustainability requirements, there needs to be a technology capable of handling this high complexity. Product models built on Configit's proprietary VT technology are the only ones on the market which can handle this type of complexity at scale. So with product models acting as the basis for managing what is offered to the customer, we also need to be able to track changes over time. And with CLM as a service, we're able to add the time element needed to do any kind of useful analysis. However, product models, when used in isolation, allow far too many combinations and configurations, potentially leading to over-engineered products and large inventory costs. And it becomes difficult to get an overview due to this level of complexity. By refining rules and analyzing the solution space, it's possible to manage the validity and availability of specific configurations. And this also ensures that the right configurations are offered to the right customers and the right markets. Finally, all of this information needs to be stored in a secure and extremely scalable environment, and it needs to be made accessible to a wide variety of analysis tools that are available on the market. This is why CLM as a service uses a data lake to store the vast amounts of data needed to perform useful analysis, such as analyzing incomplete sales processes, identifying unsold options, portfolio performance, and generating new product ideas. Data lakes also support machine learning algorithms, enabling organizations to gain deeper insights. And finally, data lakes also allow organizations to experiment with data and analytics tools quickly and with low risk. They can rapidly prototype new analytics applications and discard them if they don't work out without a significant investment or long-term commitment. And again, this helps reduce the barrier of entry. So to wrap it up, we feel the digital configuration thread in CLM as a service is not necessarily for everyone, because it's meant to handle the most complex problems. But if you have 1,000 million rules, a complex IT ecosystem, and high volumes of data, then it's definitely worth considering. And if you're interested in working with us on the digital configuration thread, then please let us know. That was it for me.
Great, thank you so much, Damantha, for your interesting presentation. So I can see a couple of questions loading in. So let's start with that general one here. So it's basically saying how hard it is to implement a CLM solution. Would you like to dive into that a little bit?
Sorry?
Would you like to dive into this a little bit?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're trying to establish is that because it is so hard as on a very broad level to pull all this data together, what we're trying to do is focus especially on the configuration elements of it. And if we talk about CLM as a service, it's the deployment model of using the cloud, I think really lends itself to getting these projects up and running very quickly. And I think the reason for that is because we've reduced the barrier of entry, mainly because we're able to automate a lot of our processes around deploying CLM. We're able to get things going a lot quicker. So I think the technical implementations end up being a lot quicker when you have a as a service type of solution, because the main problem, I think, is actually getting an understanding of the data and understanding of the models. So it ends up being more, kind of a business-based problem that needs to be solved rather than technical problem. I think also with open APIs, and as we get more more mature with how APIs need to work in an ecosystem as a whole, it becomes a lot easier for systems to begin to talk together. So we think that a lot of the technology challenges hopefully are, the smallest part of the problem, and it's more around making sure that we have a good understanding of the business. So we're hopefully shifting a lot of that towards the areas that actually should make a difference.
Thanks, very insightful answer for me. So let's look at another question here. This person points actually to the fact that all the systems that we have mentioned and the functions around in a company, if they are actually doing their job properly, then isn't it just a question of ensuring that these systems or the people behind it share the information efficiently? So is there really a need for CLM is the question.
Yes, and I think you would think that it would be easy if they were all doing their job, but I think what we also can see is they're highly specialized, each of these types of systems, and because they are so specialized, there's not a lot of focus on integrating this kind of data together. So there needs to be some mechanism where you can tie this information together, and that's what we feel is configuration lifecycle management actually is that kind of glue, because each of these systems are focused on manufacturing, on CRM, but they're not focused on how to talk together necessarily. So what we feel is that CLM can actually provide that glue that links all of these systems together. as well as in making sure that that gets enriched with the kinds of rules and information that you need to have in order to make some good business decisions. So yes, I think they could do it, but I think the way that the landscape is like right now, nobody is actually doing that, and that's where we feel we play a big part in that.
Thanks for giving more insight into this and answering this question. There's another question over here. Actually point to the configuration part in the digital configuration thread. So it actually says what is the sort of the exact difference between the two concepts, and where how does the configuration part in the middle of the digital configuration thread enables or enriches the concept of digital thread, which is prominent in many manufacturing companies?
Yeah, so I think what we're trying to say is that by focusing on configuration and trying to tie those pieces together, that's a good place to start. It doesn't capture everything, but it captures the most important types of insights that you need to have, because configuration information can be used to generate all these other pieces of information. So I think it's kind of like that Pareto 80-20 rule. You can get 80% of the value by only trying to capture 20% of all the kinds of artifacts that are out there. So I think what we're saying is that this builds upon, or you can use this to build upon a more comprehensive solution. But if you want to get started quickly and get some very quick returns on this, it's a simpler way to get started than having a massive project where you need to be fully complete in order to get the full digital thread, right? So you can start a lot smaller, start a lot more specialized, but still get an enormous amount of value. So I think that that's what we're trying to say. It's the configuration thread is a part of the digital thread as a whole, but if you started here, we feel that you can get a lot, very far, very quickly.
Interesting. Thanks for giving more background into this question. So I think we've covered all the questions that were coming in, and but if you still feel to ask a question, you can still do that in the chat panel, and we will get back to you with a response after the session. But for now, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Damantha for his very interesting session today, and to all of you for joining us today. And yeah, wish you a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.